Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Down to Earth Astronomy. This is going to be the second video in my advanced miners guide. In the first video we talked about the fittings and the loadout of the ship, and depending on your ship size. And today we're looking at how to find your optimal place for mining. And the first thing you need to do is you need to figure out, are you going to do ice mining or are you going to do rock mining? If you do ice mining, you have to be very reliant on missions, because the ice rock itself doesn't really pay that much. There are the low temperature diamonds that do pay fairly well, but in general, the materials you get from the metallic rocks are more valuable than the ones you get from ice. I personally prefer the standard, the normal rock mining, but if you're like the boost you can get to a faction from, or actually a trade rank, I think as well, from doing the missions with the ice, you can do those. There are missions for normal rocks, but I find them to be very scarce. You don't get them that often. But if you can find a good system where you can both have the right type of ring and the right station and all that stuff, you can of course take those missions as well. But anyway, let's look at what kind of systems you'll be looking for. Now, this is my go-to place of mining. This is HIP 16607, and the reason why this is a good system is because there are two main factors you need to look at when you're looking at what ring to go to. The first thing, of course, is the reserve quality. That is how good is the rocks in the ring. And it says here, if you go into the system map, you click on the second tab, and you highlight the planet you want to go to. It says up here, this is pristine reserves. And this one as well. This is also pristine reserves. And that's the highest quality you can get. So it's really important that you do get a system with a pristine reserve, and make sure when you go down to the rings here that at least one of the rings is metallic. You can see here there's a rocky ring. We don't want to go there. This planet has a rocky ring. This one has rocky and metal rich. Metal rich, nope. But it also has one planet here with a metallic ring, and that is of course the one that we will be going for. And if you're in doubt which ring is the metallic one, it will often be the lightest one, and also the ring with the lowest number. So ring A would be the inner ring, and ring B will be the outer ring, and if there are more rings, you can have higher letters, I guess. But another thing to take into consideration, that is the distance both from the warp-in point or the jump-in point in the system to the station. In case you are moving out of system to sell your goods, you don't want to end up having to fly 200,000 light seconds just to get to your station. This particular station is around 2,000 light years. It's a bit on the far side, but I guess it's okay. The most important thing though is the distance from the station to the ring is only around 60 light seconds, which is very, very good. So those are some things you could take into consideration as well when you're looking for your mining spot. That depends on how you're going to do it. If you're going to fly out and get a lot of missions in the neighboring systems, then you might want to go for a system where the rings and the stations are closer to the parent star. But if you just plan to sell it in a system, if you found a system that buys the materials at a good price, you can go for something where the station is closer to the ring. But let's get out to the planet and let's have a look at where you could drop down. And by the power of video editing, we are now out next to the planet, and we are now hovering above the rings. And you can see here that the white gray outer ring here, that's the rocky ring, and the inner ring here, that is the metallic ring. Even though it does vary in color a little bit. Now, once you're out here, you need to make a suggestion. Either you could just drop down anywhere in the ring. That's the most safe, because as soon as you dropped out, you're just going to boost away from your wake point, and then you shouldn't really be disturbed at all. But if you go into the resource extraction site, you will gain a bonus to both the amount of fragments that you gain per rock, so the amount of material you'll get per rock, but I think also to the quality of the materials in the rock. I haven't tested that. I'm pretty sure you gain a bonus to the number of fragments. Not sure about the quantity or the quality of the rocks. But you do get a bonus, you do get better rocks when you go into the resource extraction sites. But again, that of course means that you can get shot at by the pirates in the sector. There will of course also be police who will try to help you. So, but as we talked about in the fittings video, if you've gone for a defensive setup where you selected a good high classed shield generator, maybe also fitted a few weapons, maybe you've gone for a fighter setup like I have, you can actually mine fairly effectively in the resource extraction sites. What you have to do though is once you drop down, you need to get further away than 15 kilometers from the center of the resource extraction site. Don't go further than 20 because you only get the bonus as long as you're within 20 kilometers of this extraction site. But stay out at the edge between 15 and 20 because out there you won't encounter that many pirates as you will closer to the center. It would, from time to time, you will have a police vessel that will come out and see who you are and what you're doing. But if you does not have any bounties or crimes in the system, well, you're pretty much just good to go. And in case that there is the odd pirate that comes by and tries to shoot at you, what I do is I simply just launch my fighter and take him down with the fighter, let my crew take over the ship. But if you drop down in the ring, as you can see here, the metallic ring just below me here is has different shades of gray. Now, the light colors are where the rocks are very closely packed. So this is where the rocks, they will be close together. And in the of course more darker area is where the rocks are more spaced out. So again, you can find a band that fits your playstyle. If you play in a small, fast, nimble ship, you could probably, with good advantage, go into the lighter colors. That will also help you to get closer to the rock, so you can go with a lower grade of prospector controller, simply because that they will have shorter range, but you don't need the long range with the rocks are very closely packed. But again, the tight areas, they can be difficult to maneuver, especially if you're flying a ship like the cutter, like I am. So then you can't go into the areas where the rocks are less densely packed. I did a video earlier, some time ago, where I actually tried to figure out if there was a difference in the quality of the rock, both the amount of fragments that the rocks give, but also in how much material you'll get. And what I did was I went in and I think I scanned in the vicinity of 250 rocks, both in a area where the rocks were very densely packed, and then I did the same thing in an area where the rocks were very spread out. And then I did an analysis on some statistics on the results, how many of the different types of material did I get, how many fragments were in them, and what were the percentage. And I didn't find any significant difference between the different areas. So it doesn't really matter the rocks are the same regardless of where you drop down in the ring. The only difference is how tightly they will be packed. So that's something you can consider as well, depending on your ship, depending on your playstyle. If you feel like you're bumping into the rocks too much, then go into an area that is a little bit less densely packed. Or if you feel like you're flying too much, spending too much time flying between rocks, but then try to find an area that's more closely packed. Of course, you do not have that luxury when you're dropping down into the extraction zones, because they will be placed for you. But often they will be in a decent area. That's at least what I found. Another thing to consider if you decide just to drop down in the ring is the position of the star. You can see the star here just behind the ring. And if we're gonna go up a bit here, because you do not want to mine in a ring, in a place in the ring that is in the shadow from the planet, because that means you do not have the light from the star to help you navigate, and it can be very difficult to actually spot the rocks against the dark sky if you do not have the sun lighting them up. So what I would often do is I would make sure that I drop down. We should be high up now, so we can find the planet here. There we go. I would often drop down on the side of the planet that is facing the sun. As you can see here on the back side there, the planet is shattering the ring, meaning that that area will be very difficult to maneuver. And of course, remember, when you drop down, you will be orbiting the planet. So if you are too close to the shadow, you might eventually, after some time, move into the shadow. I have had that happen to me a few times. But once you drop down, now again we're going with if you're dropping down in a random place in the ring, what you should consider, and now I'm being interdicted, just wonderful. Let's just submit here. Anyway, once you drop down in the ring, you need to make sure that you do not fly in circles. Who are this? Alliance Force. He's gonna hate me.
Frameshift drive charging.
Yeah, okay, he didn't want to kill me. Anyway, once you go down in the ring, you need to make sure that you do not fly in circles. And to do that, what I would often do is you select the planet, and then whenever you need to move on to a new area, you always move towards the planet. That ensures that you will always be moving to fresh rocks, and that you do not just fly around in the same area, because then it can easily be very, very difficult to locate the rocks that you've already scanned. So I always select rocks that are closer to the planets than where I currently am, and that way I slowly move towards. I'm not gonna try to drop down here. Here we go. So you can see I have the planet selected. So I would go down into the ring, and each time I scanned a rock, I would be moving towards the planet to ensure that I always get fresh rocks. Another thing you can do if you are in the extraction points is the extraction points are actually static. What does that mean? Well, that means that the extraction points, the rocks in the extraction points are the same every single time, even if you log out and back in again. So you can actually map out the rocks in a extraction site and then come back to the same rocks. So if you know where all the good painite rocks are, you can just fly from painite rock to painite rock, one at a time. And the way you can do that is you use the distance to the center of the extraction site and the position of the planet, because they will stay the same. Do not use the position of the sun. You can use the position of the sun to indicate which side of the belt is up and which side of the belt is down. So I would often say that, well, the sun should be above the belt. So in this case, I'm now below the belt because the sun is on the upper side, if I can find it. I'm not really sure where it is. It should be out here somewhere. The star is very faint in this system. But anyway, we can see the rocks are lit up from the top, so this means that that's the top of the belt. Use that to define where it is, and you can then define, well, what is the distance to the center of the extraction site if you are there, and this distance to the planet. You cannot do this when you're in the actual just drop down like I've done here, but you can do it in an extraction site. So you can map out the rocks. They will change shape from instance to instance, which makes it a little bit difficult. But you can find them again if you really want to. I think they will respawn after 2 hours, so you can come back 2 hours later and you can mine the same rocks over and over and over again, which is very, very neat. So I think that's pretty much all there is about the location of where you should mine, or where you could mine. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it useful. If you did, subscribe to the channel so you can get the next video once that's out, where we're going to be talking about some nice tips and tricks that I picked up along the way as a miner, and how you can use them to effectively increase your mining rate and the credits you're gonna make each hour. So thanks a lot for watching. Subscribe, like the video, and until next time, I'll see you guys in space.